guys. Well, good morning, good afternoon, depending where you're calling from. Thanks for joining us. My name is Dave Stevens. I'm from Prairie Surfaces. Just a quick housekeeping item here. Just wanted to let you guys know that this thing's being recorded. So if you could all watch your language, that would be appreciated. So as you know, we'll be discussing how to maximize both safety and revenue in your water space. Just a quick overview of our presentation here. First point we'll be talking about is the importance of free play, especially with splash pads and water play. We'll get into the importance of NSF and how it applies to recreational facilities. We'll also get into we'll also have a couple industry experts on here to discuss their experience. And lastly, before we start, just want to let you know that there's going to be a Q&A session at the end. So feel free to ask your questions in the comments throughout the presentation, and we'll do our best to get to them in the time allotted. So we'll be joined by Kyle Seaman and Matt Thielen from LifeFloor. Kyle is the VP of International Sales. He's going to discuss the company and the product's history, give an update on why LifeFloor originated, what they're working on now, and where they see the company going. Matt is LifeFloor's installation specialist and is in charge of the certification for installers, as well as managing projects. He's going to discuss why they specifically partnered with Prairie Surfaces and why they go the route of having certified installers for LifeFloor. We're also going to be hearing from Kevin Boyles, who is the general manager and CEO of the Calgary Winter Club. He'll be giving us some background information on their project and how things have been going for them so far. So let's get started. Just a quick background on our company, just so you guys are a bit aware of kind of where we came from. So we originated as a pour-in-place rubber contracting company, Prairie Rubber Paving, who specialized in surfacing for playgrounds, daycare centers, and residential applications. From there, we ventured into other applications such as splash pads and even some basketball and tennis courts. So while pour-in-place installations have been very successful, we were learning that pour-in-place was not the ideal product for every type of installation. For example, high chlorine environments will break down the polyurethane binder that's used in the pour-in-place system for water play areas. So while lots of other companies in our industry continue to do a one-size-fits-all approach with pour-in-place, it was from our own experience that we decided we could do better. We wanted materials that were specifically designed for the intended use of the space. So this ultimately brought us to partnering with both Lakehold and LifeFloor. Because of these additions, we decided to add a division with a more encompassing name, and thus Prairie Surfaces was born. So while pour-in-place is a great option for in instances for some areas like residential pool decks or personal backyard courts, we don't believe it's the right product that should be used for high abuse commercial areas in those settings. And while Prairie Surfaces specializes in recreational surfacing for playgrounds, tennis courts, basketball courts, and aquatic spaces, we want to focus this presentation specifically on the water play industry, as the industry has been increasing in a popularity at a rate that seems to be outpacing innovation. So to get things started, I wanted to talk to you guys about the importance of free play in aquatic spaces. Free play is important for children's development. Exploring and learning can often mean that kids are taking risks like jumping to and sliding down fire poles on playgrounds, climbing equipment, balancing on sidewalk curbs, jumping off swings, et cetera, et cetera. Playing enables kids to problem solve, think critically, and to create. We see these examples when kids are playing with Lego sets, playing house, and building forts. So just as playgrounds have evolved, splash pads are now having their turn and quickly are becoming a very popular method of free play. These free play areas really only grab kids' attention though if there is at least a little bit of risk involved. Our goal in this industry is to encourage kids to explore, learn, and play, and let their imaginations run wild. Good play space does have a certain level of risk to it though. We want to provide them with a great play space while also providing them with the safest possible environment. A huge part of the child's development is their comfort level with water as well. This relationship with water is typically developed at a young age and can stay with them for life. So as we've come to expect playgrounds to include some kind of safety surfacing, we're starting to see through industry practices and guest interactions that some kind of safety surfacing on splash pads and water parks is preferred as well. Too often, these fun spaces themed with waterfalls, pirate ships, fountains are laid upon a blank canvas of abrasive concrete that's just begging for some kind of inspirational design. I can definitely tell you myself as a parent who also spends a lot of time walking around and supervising my kids, as well as has an ongoing battle with plantar fasciitis, that some kind of forgiving safety surfacing on top of the concrete is always opened or is always welcomed with open arms. The flooring for splash pads and water parks alike are often the biggest canvas to show off inspiring, playful features. It can definitely transform the entire area into a playful, exciting environment and create a better experience for its guests. Free play, though, is only as free as a child feels while engaging with the aquatic environment. Do guests feel they can tumble to the ground without fear of a bruised knee? Or do they feel they can jump around without losing their footing and slipping? Do they feel confident with playing that they aren't going to get injured and can just focus on the excitement? And do parents feel they have the freedom to be able to turn the other way for a second without having to be worried? So the key takeaway here should be that play just should never be painful. We always want to do our best to encourage imaginative play, while also mitigating risk wherever possible to make our guest experience as good as possible. So a little bit about NSF and its requirements. So what is NSF? The NSF, or the National Sanitation Foundation, is an international objective third-party certification group that works with industry professionals to provide public health and safety-based risk management solutions. NSF standards cover much of the equipment that goes in and around recreational water areas already, like splash pads or pool decks, including water sanitation, filtering, pumps, and now surfacing. You're also going to see the NSF stamp on everyday items like in your dishwasher or common household cleaning products. So since 2019, the NSF standard has recommended that splash pad surfacing materials meet certain criteria. NSF uses third-party testing to evaluate products for slip resistance, impact attenuation, chemical resistance, UV resistance, cleanability, and impermeability. We'll talk about these different criteria in a second, but as many facilities across North America have begun renovating existing facilities as well as plan for new ones, many have looked to this standard as a way to follow recommended best practices. Following these standards ensures quality products and the best user experience possible. So what's all involved in getting a material certified to NSF standard for water play? Well, to start, slip resistance. For obvious reasons, certified splash pad surfaces must be slip resisting to minimize slip and fall injuries while providing a minimum level of traction without being abrasive. Value for impact attenuation on splash pads are much less than the criteria for playgrounds. The purpose here is to provide small children a place to stumble and fall when inevitable falls do happen. Chlorine is the obvious chemical in aquatic spaces. This criteria ensures that the surface must be able to maintain its traction as well as impact attenuation even after exposure to harsh chemicals. And the UV testing is done to make sure it can stand up to the ultraviolet radiation, representing the demanding year-round outdoor exposure we have come to love here in North America. Cleanability is obviously a big thing for staff and maintenance considerations. Testing for this is done by mixing a dirty slurry that includes two major bacteria groups that's often found in aquatic environments. This slurry is applied to the entire surface. This testing includes the joints in between the tiles as well to make sure the entire system is being tested appropriately. And lastly, impermeability is an important consideration, especially for indoor applications. This standard requires that a surface must be at least as impermeable as concrete, which, if you're curious, is 98.3% impervious. Any warm and wet area can inhibit the bacteria growth, especially when given a space to grow. Making sure that nothing can be absorbed into the surfacing material is a critical requirement. And this is a major piece for health and safety departments across the country. So you might be surprised to learn that this brings us to talking about LifeFloor. What is LifeFloor? Well, to put it simply, LifeFloor is a rubber foam tile made with repel cell technology with industry-leading traction and cushioning to create a safer water-play surface. It also happens to be the only product available on the market to meet all 6 NSF criteria that was just mentioned. This unique product comes in squares, triangles, rectangles, and hexagons, and comes in thicknesses of 3/16 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, which is a standard thickness, and 7/8 of an inch. These modular tiles allow for custom designs to complement the aquatic area in any facility. These tiles are impervious to water, dirt, and debris, which allows LifeFloor to be cleaned and maintained easier than other surfaces. LifeFloor is commonly used in areas that require a forgiving, non-slip surface. These areas often include, but aren't limited to, pool decks for hotels and community pools, splash pads, locker rooms, spray parks, showers, zero depth entry pools, and even underwater applications. LifeFloor isn't just beneficial for a new build project. It can also be used to retrofit or renovation projects where safety concerns need to be resolved. LifeFloor's unique closed cell foam technology has given it the capacity to achieve things that other surfacing products have not. It combines extraordinary safety, comfort, durability, and design that helps create the ideal aquatic surface. So many facilities are opting for fun patterns created by colorful and creative shapes as a way to increase visual interest. Adding these designs at the surface level has proven to drastically improve the look of the facility that has been retrofitted. So we've got a couple of case studies here that help to show why people might be making this switch. One case study we've got is from the city of Shoreview in Minnesota. In the 6 months prior to installing LifeFloor, the city had 103 slip and fall incidents reported, meaning an actual incident report was filled out. And typically those only happen when a real injury was sustained. The 6 months after LifeFloor was installed, there were only 3 incidents reported. In addition to this, the original project for LifeFloor was the water park area, which was total around 16,000 square feet. And during this installation, the city also contracted a different flooring company to install an epoxy coating in their locker rooms. After reopening, the city had so many slips and falls in the locker rooms that they contacted LifeFloor again to install another 5,000 square feet in their locker rooms. And this happened less than 2 months after the epoxy flooring was completed. Another case study here is a large US water park who requested to not be named, but they contacted LifeFloor shortly after they were forced to close their play structure after having 72 incidents reported in the first 6 weeks of their new facility being open. They contacted LifeFloor to be installed and were able to reopen their facility in the second half of the summer. They didn't have a single incident reported for the remainder of that season or the entire season following that one. Last one, a case study a little bit closer to home, McDonald Island in Fort McMurray, Alberta. After having to close down their indoor splash pad because of a deteriorating surfacing product, Prairie Surfaces was hired to install LifeFloor in their facility. And the year prior to them having to close this area, there were 50 reported incidents. Once reopening with LifeFloor on both their splash pad floor as well as the play structure, only 2 incidents were reported. So with slips and falls being a main concern in any water play environment, LifeFloor offers incredible traction and slip resistance without being abrasive and is cushioned for bare feet. LifeFloor tiles remain this way for the entire lifetime of the tile without needing anything to be reapplied to the surface, which is unlike a lot of coatings we see on the market. LifeFloor has been tested in both extreme cold temperatures, like minus 40 degrees Celsius, and all the way up to plus 49 degrees Celsius, proving that it's resilient in even the harshest Canadian climate. And it's because of this closed cell technology, we have yet to find something that will stain LifeFloor after cleaning. And the chance that damage does happen though, LifeFloor's modular tile system allows for a repair to be done quickly with almost no downtime. So why does NSF matter to you? It's always in a facility's best interest to adhere to NSF standards in terms of both operational excellence and risk mitigation. Meeting NSF standards for sanitation and health and safety provides facilities protection from potential lawsuits as well. The NSF standard largely reduces the chance of injuries. However, should an injury occur, operators can point to the fact that they were operating under the best and safest practices on the industry. On a product level, using NSF certified products takes the guesswork out of finding a safe and high performing product for aquatic operators. Independent third-party testing ensures that a product with an NSF certification can be trusted to serve the public health. So all these product qualities ranging from safety, comfort, durability, and design make LifeFloor a product that can offer guests an experience they'll remember. Guests will stay longer and guests will return more often. Positive memories of play centers circulate between friends and family and creates a higher likelihood of repeat visits or gaining more visitors. Likewise, negative memories or stories of injuries at a facility circulate among friends and families and will impact decision-making down the road. So using LifeFloor allows owners and operators to continue operating with the peace of mind that they've chosen the most reliable product on the market in such a demanding environment. And by maximizing the play space and making it interactive with designs and colorful shapes, you can maximize the visual interest and the time spent at a venue, sorry. So total time spent combined with return trips from guests can lead to a predictable return of investment for the venue owner who spent the money to ensure a safe experience. So I'm going to give you a bit of a break from my voice now for a little bit, and I'll introduce you guys to Kyle and Matt from LifeFloor. They're going to talk to you a little bit more about LifeFloor as a company. So I'll hand it over to you here, Kyle.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Wes, and the entire Prairie Surfaces team for inviting Matt and myself on to this webinar. A lot of great info already shared by Dave, but I wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit more about our company and a little bit of the product history. So at LifeFloor, our mission is we believe all aquatic spaces should be safe and beautiful. This has been a driving force for our passion to introduce LifeFloor to the world. We've been fortunate enough to see firsthand the joy that LifeFloor can bring guests and the peace of mind that it brings to the operators. So we've been sharing this passion since we started the business in 2011, but actually even prior to us starting the business, the LifeFloor product, or a version of what is now LifeFloor, had been around. It was invented in 2006. So from 2006 to 2011, there were 13 projects, predominantly here in the upper Midwest, in Minnesota, where I'm located. As a side note, Dave visited last week, and I actually showed him one of our oldest installs, which is with a local municipality here in the Minneapolis area. That's now about 15 years old, and it's still performing well. So overall, these initial 13 projects were considered successful. The product was accomplishing its number one goal, which was preventing slip and falls. But it wasn't a well-known product, and it really didn't focus on much on the design aspect. So you kind of had a boring floor that was safe. Our company saw the potential in that product, and so we acquired it in 2011. We knew it would take a lot of work to create awareness, and bring it to a much bigger audience. But we also knew the benefit would be hugely impactful for kids and frankly, anyone who plays in and around water. So since 2011, we've made some significant improvements to the product formulation as well as just manufacturing process. We actually set up a state-of-the-art factory here in the United States, where we have more direct control over production, as well as just being able to continue to innovate the product. So from these initial 13 projects, we've grown the LifeFlora brand to now have nearly 2,000 projects in over 35 countries. So it's been a significant amount of work, but made a huge impact in the last decade on creating awareness about this product in our organization. But going back to our mission of every aquatic space being safe and beautiful, we have a strong desire to create beautiful designs with our floor. And Dave touched on this earlier. You arguably have the largest canvas in your facility is the floor. And oftentimes it's just overlooked for function as opposed to actually being an asset that guests are aware of. So you have a great opportunity here to create beautiful designs with your floor and really provide that 360-degree top to bottom view of your space, whether it's a pool deck or a splash pad. So most guests rarely notice a floor. It's only usually noticed when it's problematic. So with LifeFlora, we strive for the opposite. We want guests to be wowed by the floor. And I know it sounds kind of silly at first, but we truly believe that the flooring is an asset to the facility, and it can make a big impact to the overall guest experience at that attraction. So we have a very passionate team here at LifeFlora, but we have an equally passionate network of partners that we trust to help grow our mission. And that's how we connected with Dave and his team at Prairie Surfaces. Our company values aligned very well, and we knew we could entrust our brand with his team in Western Canada. We know we have a great product, but frankly, our product is only as good as it is if it's installed properly, which is why we require certified installation. So we have a very robust certification process that we lead as a manufacturer to share that proper installation process with our partners. And so for more on that process and kind of why we do that, pass it over to my colleague, Matt Thielen.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. And thanks, Dave, and everybody at Prairie as well for having us on. So yeah, what we look for throughout our network of certified installers is teams that lead with integrity and professionalism, and that's one of the biggest draws on my end with the hands-on approach with working with Prairie Surfaces and their team. So our program for certification is pretty thorough, and it is robust. We work with these potential installers on a hands-on approach. So we go and work with them on project. We require that to happen over the course of 3 unique projects, so it can be stretched out. And we do that to be very deliberate in our approach. What we look for is all the unique applications that LifeFlora can be seen on. And so the hope is over the course of these 3 installations is to dive in to each unique application and where LifeFlora can be utilized. It's a very unique product, and it lends itself to a lot of different areas within a singular facility. So we look for companies that want to go all in, that want to take it to the next level, and that are very design focused. Our company is very, as Kyle mentioned, we've transitioned from just a typical flooring to really create this space, or help create the space, right, from bottom to top. So we need teams that can take a design and extrapolate that and bring it full circle down to the floor. So just a little context on the slide you guys are seeing here is, you look at the design rendering on paper, and you see it's just a variation of different colors put together in our standard 2x2 tile. But there's a lot that goes into it, because from going from full circle concept to application, we want to make sure that there's a cohesion that happens throughout. So being very deliberate in the design. This next slide is a pretty intricate design, and what happens on these is you have to take it from paper, and how do you get it into the field, right? So the whole point is everything is that we do is field cut for the most part. We do send some stuff that's coming out of our factory. We have the design capabilities and manufacturing capabilities to send a lot of stuff out, but we rely on the experience that these installers can provide in a tangible manner, right? When they're down on their knees working on this project to bring it to life. So with these lily pads, this is a pretty crazy design from a concept standpoint. So how do you bring that off of paper and put it down and create this space? This splash pad, yeah, you could had just a blank canvas with a bare concrete or whatever on the surface, but we were able to bring this to life with this really cool design. Some of the things, and one of the reasons why we chose to go with a network of certified installers is to kind of curb some of the mistakes that can be seen. On the left, you'll see something that was done with improper preparation, surface preparation. That's a huge aspect of in the flooring world, right? If the surface isn't prepared right, the material is not going to be adhered right. And on the right, it's how to use the products and the tools that you're given, whether it's on this particular one, it was not enough adhesive used. So those little nuances and details get dialed in throughout the training process. And these are things that in my world, in what I do, in working with these teams globally, that I've been that I admire Prairie Surfaces for the way that they've kind of embraced all the things that I kind of send them and say, we need to do work on this. Let's work on this and go in and dive in. And their willingness to kind of embrace it wholeheartedly has been pretty fantastic in my book. Just another example of what you know, we can come up with the prettiest design, conceptually, paper, all that good stuff, but then the application can sometimes suffer. So these are two examples of just small details that really can change the total project, or distract you from what it is that we were trying to achieve with this design. So these are the kind of things that when we're doing our training, how do you go about certain things the right way, based on the experience that we can work, you know, that I bring or our team works with, or our team can bring to the table. And you know, we need a company that's going to buy in to that. So lastly, is just to kind of wanted to touch on this one in particular, just because the continuity of design, all of this was done in the field. So having that skill set to, once again, and I've kind of hammered on this, but to bring it from concept to reality without losing a step. Like I said, all of these waves, everything is all hand cut. It's all cut in the field. So the expertise that's needed to be able to be successful in this space, you know, it is definitely a bonus that I see coming out of Prairie Surfaces. So I just wanted to highlight a few things, and I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt and Kyle. Appreciate it. I'll be handing you guys over to Kevin now from the Calgary Winter Club to talk a little bit about their project and what the experience was like. The video we'll be showing during his talk is a nice little time-lapse video of our installation for the Winter Club. So I'll hand it over to you there, Kevin.
Okay, thanks, Dave. So for us, this ended up being a really cool project. We had a seldom used deck outside our aquatic center and thought we could use that patio space with a building bump out. Our original concept was we were going to put in 2 water slides, but as we started to research, we realized an indoor splash park concept would be way more versatile. We've got a membership here that's here multiple times a week for an entire lifetime, and we're always driven to try to give our families different ways to play and enjoy the club. So having water play as opposed to just 2 water slides really made a lot of sense to us, hence the splash pad. So we also serve a really wide demographic. We've got infants to 100-year-olds, and the splash park with a slide has a lot more versatility than 2 slides would have had for us. So it was easy to find really cool equipment right away, but we had a lot of concerns around the safety of a splash pad, regular pool tiling, the rest of our aquatic center, way too slippery. If you go anything more than a really controlled walk, you're on the deck. So we were worried about slip and falls. We looked at concrete surface, better grip with pebbling, but brutal for minor injuries, scrapes, potentially concussion if you do wipe out. We also looked at poured products, but as the guys pointed out, we couldn't find anything that would hold up well in a chlorine environment and a pretty warm environment, because this is an indoor installation with a lot of windows. So I would also add this talk about revenue and driving revenue. It's not really the way a private club works. So our members pay annual dues, and they get for those dues a multitude of activities at the club. But with the lens of high injury risk, we were really worried about needing to add close supervision. So operating costs in terms of having a guard in the splash pad every moment that it's open would really be a big increase for us. So that was also a big consideration. When we found the LifeFloor website, this looked like a too good to be true kind of solution. The things we were drawn to were the really high anti-slip properties, the shock absorption, limiting damage from falls, and then a product that claimed it would hold up in both sunlight and in chlorine. So in the end, I'd just say that the flooring decision couldn't have worked out any better for us. The LifeFloor product has been perfect for our facility. The Prairie Surfaces guys were phenomenal. The installation went great. We were surprised to have people from both companies there, making sure our installation went right. Spent the time to show us how to maintain the facility properly. And so that was really cool. We are able to keep the splash park open with minimal supervision. So we add a guard for the water slide, but when it's non-peak times, we leave the guard out of the area and we let parents come in and use the splash park without a guard, because there's just so little risk on the splash pad, which was a real bonus for us. We've been open since July, and we've literally had 0 reported injuries and 0 incidents. So kids are running around in this space like crazy every day. I'm sure we must have had some falls along the way. It's going to happen, but none that have been at the level of being reported, and 0 injuries over 8 months of operation for us so far. So that's a phenomenal result. The look was a surprise to us, way more colorful and way more custom than we anticipated. We thought we were getting square tiles, and didn't even realize in our architect's drawings that this pattern had been created with all the little features, the fish, the sharks swimming around. The place looks really cool. It's had a great response from our members, and it's just a lot safer than our pool deck. So from our point of view, great installation, great result, and it's a huge enhancement for us at our facility that is selling memberships and is making our kids happy. So we couldn't be too much happier.
Perfect. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. So thanks again for looking at giving us an overview on the process and everything there. So we pride ourselves in taking on high performance products for not just aquatic spaces, but also for recreational facilities with specific needs. We stick with high-end industry-leading materials for their markets. So both Lakehold and Snap Sports are industry leaders for their materials, and we're proud to have them in our quiver as well. We believe that it's these practices that led us to being able to partner with Canadian Tire's National Jumpstart charity program. We were originally selected by Jumpstarts on their inclusive playground initiative because of our quality materials and installations. Since then, it's changed from a typical vendor relationship to more of a shared partnership. They've been able to lean on our expertise to expand their inclusive vision and in further projects, including now multi-sport courts and splash pads. So we've been able to work with them on all their inclusive play projects for the past 5 years, and hope to for the foreseeable future as well. So a couple key takeaways here, just to sum things up. Free play in aquatic spaces is really important because we want kids to have a healthy relationship with water. Having a safe play area is valuable for both parents and kids, as it reduces the risks of play. Word travels quick in communities, and fun and safe interactive play areas can lead to increased return visits and new visitors. We also heard from Kevin a little bit about how it can even reduce staffing needs. Using an NSF product as an owner and not having to question if a product is going to last in its given environment provides a little bit of security in your investments. This also reduces exposure to the owner on a liability level as well. LifeLore can be used in renovation projects as well when old surfacing needs to be replaced, or if there is an ongoing safety concern. It doesn't need to just be a new build. And safety is important, and play shouldn't hurt. So that basically wraps things up for us here. I'd love the opportunity to talk to any one of you about any potential projects that might be coming up. Also, should anyone have any questions come to mind later, my contact information is on the screen there for you, or you can just grab it off of our website if you want. In regards to questions, though, we've got a few minutes here if anyone has any questions for any of the speakers. We got one question here. What is surface prep required for this product? We currently have an epoxy pour on surfacing that we have had issues with. Can this product go right over top, or would we need to strip the surface back to the concrete? Yeah, short answer to that question is yes, we would have to get that epoxy off. We would have to grind it down to the concrete. Reason for that is just because of the overall bond is way better long term. We want to get direct contact to the concrete surface there. So we want that concrete clean enough to be able to eat off of before we're putting LifeLore tiles on. If we're able to, it's adhered with the contact adhesive, and if we're able to grind the concrete a little bit and open up those pores, it allows our adhesive to kind of get in the concrete a little bit better and give it that extra little bit of bite that buys you a lot more time on an installation. Another question here, how long does concrete need to cure before we can apply the surfacing? It's kind of like any other concrete surfacing that requires. We want at least 30 days after the concrete's cured. Reason for that is just because there's so much moisture coming out of concrete, especially in the first 30 days, that we just want to make sure that the bond is as good as it possibly can be. So 30 days from pouring of concrete to when we would start our prep, which would just be a light grind to the concrete surface, and then we could start our installation. Another question here, is there annual treatments such or do play surfaces in general? There's no annual treatments, no scheduled regimens other than just standard cleaning practices, which should probably be done anyways. How long does LifeLore stand up to gouging and abrasion, and how would you repair damaged tile? Yeah, good question. So we have a video actually we could share if anyone's interested. Basically, it's a torture test for LifeLore. So it does stand up to quite a bit of abuse. The nice thing about LifeLore is that even if it does kind of get a scratch or an indentation, it kind of reflects back. So after a little bit, that a lot of times will come back, obviously depending on how big the gouge is. As far as damaged tiles and replacing damaged tiles, because it's a modular system, we can literally just, if it's one tile, we literally just scrape up that 2x2 tile and replace it with a brand new tile. All installs we do, we give you guys a handful of tiles after our installation, just to make sure you got a couple of each colors on your splash pad surface. And with our contact adhesive, it's as long as you have access, as long as it's not a submerged application, we can scrape out that 2x2 tile and pop a new tile in there, and it's good to be played on within probably, like immediately. But the whole turnaround for a repair for a 2x2 tile is probably 20 minutes. So depending on how big the area is, obviously, will affect that. But if it's minor repairs and stuff like that, it's a very quick turnaround time and no real need to be shut down your venue for any extended amount of times. Another question here. In a city with extreme annual temperatures, how have you found this product last through freeze-thaw cycles, harsh winters, etc.? Are there any exterior Winnipeg projects where this has been installed? Yes, we have one project out in Winkler that's been down for about a year and a half, going through its second winter. We've got another one in Winnipeg here in the West End it's been down since this past summer, so going through its first winter. LifeFloor also could answer to that. They've been around for a decade or so, and they're in Minneapolis with very similar climates. So I don't know if one of you guys want to hop in there on that question.
Yeah. So yeah, we've had outdoor installations. I think one of our oldest is 8+ years old. And what's actually a benefit with our product is because it's a foam-based material, it can it expands and contracts. So whereas you'd run into issues with more brittle surfaces where it cracks and breaks, our product can actually flex with those temperature swings. So it makes it even more durable. Like I said, we're based in Minnesota, so we have very similar climates. We do projects all over the world in some really extreme heat, Dubai, Central Australia. The product's just proven that it can withstand some pretty significant temperature changes.
Thanks, Cal. Another question here. Do you guys have a rough square foot price? So there's a lot of considerations, obviously the size of the project as well as the design. So certain designs have a lot more waste, depending obviously on the prep. But you're looking at, depending on the size again, probably between $25 to $28 a square foot for supply and install. That includes a 1-year installation warranty from us, as well as a 5-year warranty on the tiles, which is a pretty impressive warranty considering the climate that these things are thrown into sometimes. Well, if there's no other questions here, again, if any questions do come up, my information is on our website. It was on the last slide there as well. But yeah, feel free to reach out if you have any other questions for me or for anybody else. I can kind of direct you in the right direction there. Do appreciate everybody coming out and taking part in this, and thanks for all your questions. It was great to have you guys all here. So with that, I think we'll probably end this here. And yeah, so thanks again, and hopefully talk to you guys soon. Take care.